live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is the Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Finally. Oh, Jesus. Finally. After more than 3 weeks of protest and downtown misery, an elected official actually does something to try and resolve at least one problem rather than just hold a meeting. Ay, 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 ay. Tickle my fanny. Mayor Jim Watson, after more than 3 weeks, has met apparently with some of the protest leaders. And he got them to agree to remove trucks from residential areas. Whether, in fact, those trucks actually will move, we have yet, I guess, to determine. But at least he's done something other than just hold another freaking meeting. Nobody else has done anything. In fact, listen to this. Listen to this. Think of it. The only action taken to try and resolve at least one of the problems was a 21-year-old young woman, a private citizen, who took it upon herself to get a court injunction to stop the horn blowing. The Prime Minister, the Premier, the Mayor, not one single member of any elected body, 3 layers of government, nobody in the federal government, 370 some odd people. Nobody in municipal government, 412,000 people. Nobody in the provincial government, 9,000, whatever the hell it is. Nobody thought, oh my God, maybe we could get a court injunction. 21-year-old young woman, private citizen, says, you know what? I'm going to get a court injunction. I'm going to stop the horn blowing, which was one of the major problems, right? 3 weeks and nobody else in all these layers of government, which would include not just the elected officials, but the toadies paid, $300,000 a year to provide them advice. And so, give me this. Nobody thought of it. Now, let me ask you, what the hell does this say about leadership in this country? Nobody other than a 21-year-old young woman thinks to get a court injunction to do a simple thing, stop the horn blowing. It's unbelievable to think that a 21-year-old girl, 21-year-old young woman has got more brain power than all the elected officials and their toadies and fart catchers in the entire country. We're in a little bit of trouble here, I'd say, right? But, it's amazing. But it's just too typical, folks, of the manner in which leadership at every level of government in this country has stumbled, bumbled, farted around, and in the case of the Prime Minister, actually made the situation worse. 3 weeks into this thing, and a 21-year-old young woman gets a court injunction, and the mayor decides maybe he should talk with these people and get some concessions. More than 3 weeks. It's incredible. Where the hell are the leaders? It's not as if we're not paying these people pretty good money, right? Nowhere to be found. Missing in action. Our city cries out for somebody to take charge, somebody do something, and the only response is a 21-year-old private citizen. So let me ask you this. What do you think of this whole giant mess? What's your candid opinion of everything, okay? And let me ask you this. I know it's Valentine's Day. Hugs and kisses to everybody. Do you despair for the country? And the total lack of leadership at every level? And it's not just the local level. World leaders can't seem to come up with a way to stop Russia from invading Ukraine. Bloody war may soon break out again in Europe, and we can't find a Churchill, a Margaret Thatcher, a Golda Meir, or a Ronald Reagan, or an Angela Merkel to deal with a crisis with conviction, strength, wisdom, and in the case of the males, balls. Uh, I mean, Western democracies just cannot seem to find leaders with any ability, any intelligence, any courage, or any integrity. Or maybe it's not that we can't find these leaders, but that the citizens won't support them. We certainly have some evidence of this, that given the choice between competence, integrity, courage, and intelligence, people will choose celebrity. We got some examples of that in this country. Let's be very honest here, which in more than one way discourages people of integrity, courage, and intelligence from running. What what but back to the protests, okay? What do you think is really happening here? What do you This is right across the country. And by the way, it's spreading to other countries. What do you think people are protesting? This is very novel. This is very new. I mean, we've always had protests before, but nothing of this scale and nothing of this magnitude involving this many people. As I say, that's now spreading right across the globe pretty well. What do you think people are protesting about? And let me ask you this. Who do you blame for this? Okay? Who do you hold responsible? Um, is there anybody out there that can stop the madness? And I mean, let's just look more locally here. Ontario. I grew up in Ontario, that was the economic bulwark of this country. And then Alberta. So between the two, between Ontario and Alberta, pretty well paid for the rest of the social programs throughout the country. This was the great manufacturing hub. And then along came Dalton McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne, and we all know what happened. Brought to the brink of bankruptcy. Destroyed the economy, manufacturing, etc., etc. That, now Doug Ford, whether he's got the intelligence, whether he's got the will to fix, I don't know if it can be fixed. And then, of course, we've got the situation right across the country. We've got a prime minister who's, I think someone called him the nowhere man, nowhere to be found, and yet still beloved by the majority of people, apparently. So I'm 85. I've seen a lot in this country. I love this country, done a lot for this country over the years, a lot. And I've always, no matter where I went or what I did, I always found people of courage, integrity, and people who actually cared, came together with me for Big Brothers, Santa Claus, things like this that I and others accomplished. I'm just not sure if that will exists anymore out there. And I'll tell you, one of the things that really concerns me, and I know it concerns you, is the lack of trust, not only in government, but the lack of trust with the media. And the entire coverage of the protests is a good example of incredible barefaced lying and bias, but nothing perhaps as bad as the coverage of the taking down of the fence around the War Memorial. If you watched CBC, CTV, and some segments of the mainstream media, other than that, you come to the conclusion that a raving, screaming, yelling, rioting mob of terrorists descended upon the War Memorial, tore the War Memorial down on the fence and all the rest of it, and pissed all over. This is the impression that you would get. And I still see it in Facebook today. Tore down, I see a post today, they tore down the War Memorial. And when in fact it was a group of veterans, nothing to do with the convoy, group of veterans who decided this was enough of this, very carefully took the fence down, didn't destroy it, took it down, cleaned up around there, shoveled all the snow away, and are posting guards 24 hours. The veterans. But when you see the news cover, anyway, folks, I still have some hope. There's still lots of good people out there. I'm just not sure if we can elect good people anymore. But what's your view here? What's your view of the whole mess? Are you are you sickened by it? Are you heartbroken by it? Are you discouraged by it? Are you energized by it? Are you pissed off by it? And what do you think of the fact that after 3 weeks, only two people, elected people, well, three now that the mayor. So we've got a 21-year-old woman who gets in a court injunction to stop the horn blowing. We've got the mayor who finally, after 3 weeks, decides to sit down with a couple of these people. And then we've got Doug Ford, who managed to clear the bridge. And for which, by the way, this is quite incredible. Because, I mean, clearing the bridge was absolutely, absolutely incredibly important, vital. In fact, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but there is some coverage now in the United States which indicates that Joe Biden, in his conversation with Trudeau, told Trudeau that they were very concerned in the United States about the fact that we couldn't get our car parts down, that jobs were being lost in the United States. And Biden, in effect, warned Trudeau, you get those bridges open, or we'll start to manufacture those auto parts ourselves, which I talked about on Friday. I got a number of you poo-pooed that. I'm going to tell you right now, Biden warned Trudeau about that. Now, did Trudeau do anything? Nope. It took Doug Ford, who's now being criticized. Doug Ford's the bad guy. Why? He cleared the bridge. He opened up international travel, international trade again. Saved probably thousands of jobs, but he's it's in the fan. He's in big trouble now because of it. Which indicates that it's not all leadership, folks. There's a problem with some members of the electorate out there. Either can't seem to recognize what's really going on. All right, John, I've rambled on here. What sort of reaction are we getting here?
All righty. We invite your comments. If you're on social media, just put your comment where you normally would, and I'll put as many up on the screen as I can. I cut and paste as many as I can as well to read live to Lowell for you. You can text in or call the show as well, 613-413-2217. And if there's ever an occasion you want to hear the show again or you can't join us live, look for the Lowell Green podcast. And thank you, by the way, for sharing this on your timeline. You are our only source of advertising, so thank you. Amanda says they are playing hot potato with responsibility. Terry says, Mayor Jim, his catchphrase legacy will be crime for our time. Meriad says, but really, they didn't come to talk to the mayor, so good on him for trying. Eric says, our governments are like elephants mating. I don't know what that means, Eric, but okay. Long Point driver.
Hold on.
Yep. Sorry, I'm going too fast again.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to get this mental image of elephants mating. Obviously a fairly major event, right? But I'm just not quite fitting this into the folks. Could I ask that if you're going to get, if you're going to write something that one person out of a million might understand. Go ahead, John.
Let me see. Our mainstream media needs to look in the mirror and ask themselves how they have contributed to all the distrust of media and government, says Anne. Lisa says the Fibberals will always make a scapegoat of Ford. Nothing new here. Long Point driver is on Twitch. She says some trucks are moving right now based on posts that she is seeing on Twitter, and I trust her. She's often a good source of information.
Wait a minute. What does she mean? Are trucks moving across the
out of the downtown core?
Oh, okay.
Out of the residential neighborhoods.
Okay.
Julie says in the protest yesterday at Bank and Riverside, not letting the trucks through. I applaud that. Keenan says what regular citizens did yesterday at Bank and Riverside is what we needed to start doing 2 weeks ago. Allowing the terrorists free run has to end, he says.
See, let me just comment there.
Mm-hmm.
You see, this is one of the problems we've got here. Very clearly, the protesters, you may disagree, they've caused chaos, etc., but they're not terrorists. And for you to label, as the mayor has, or as the prime minister has done, to label them as terrorists. I mean, a lot of these people are here with their families and so forth. Come on. I mean, this is the kind of thing that's tearing this country apart. People like you describing, other Canadian citizens doing what they think is right as terrorists. That's dividing. This is just tearing us asunder in this country. Please stop. Okay? Go ahead, John.
Here's a text at 613-413-2217. Hi, Lowell. I'm pissed off by all of this. We have this liberal ruling party who can't be bothered to listen to the common man. I guess he figures he can do what he wants as long as he can count on Toronto to keep him in power. Christine says today, Jagmeet quoted the media in his press conference regarding how nurses shouldn't wear their scrubs outside for fear of harassment. However, I have not heard or seen anything indicating that nurses have been the target from truckers or protesters at large, so he's going by the media's narrative.
You know what? That's a very good point. There's no question that certainly Trudeau has tried to spread fear. And when someone calls these protesters terrorists, I hold the prime minister at least partially responsible for that. But yeah, all of these warnings about don't the CTV taking its logo off the car. That when the fact of the matter is, there has been no violence. There have been a few incidents, but to my knowledge, there have been a number of arrests, but mostly for people bringing in fuel. It's been very peaceful, very bouncy castle. And yet we've got our leaders and the media still trying to scare the hell out of us, okay? CTV is removing its... Now, there's no question that the protesters are angry at CTV, but has any CTV reporter been attacked? Not to my knowledge.
Well, Evan Solomon claimed on his Twitter that he had a beer can thrown at him.
Oh. Well, maybe I don't I don't know. But I mean, there's been no charges in this regard, and like, has any nurse been attacked or come on, good God, and not only that, but one of the things too that's happening is that all of these things that have happened are obviously not the truckers. We used as the example that two people try to light a fire, and a prime example is the way the media covered the removal of the fence around the war memorial, calling them terrorists and when it was a group of veterans with the best of intentions. Go ahead, John.
Pam says, stop listening to the media, go downtown to the Parliament and see how loving they are for yourself. You'll feel the love and have a major smile of happiness. I just want to sit in that hot tub they've put in the middle of Wellington Street.
Can I just comment on that?
Sure.
I think that on the lighter side here, my understanding is that the protest is now becoming a bit of a tourist attraction.
Uh-huh.
That people are coming from the United States, apparently, to have a look at this, and they're coming from other parts of Ontario and maybe even from Quebec to have a look at this and going down. That's my understanding. It's become a little bit of a tourist attraction. Doesn't justify it, but it's kind of interesting. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Lowell, suffice to say, have you heard anybody talk about Winterlude thus far? It's February 14th, for crying out loud. Not a mention. The big tourist attraction is what's going on with bouncy castles and hot tubs and concerts on Wellington Street.
Go ahead.
Sam says, Pat King says the truckers won't move, and the letter from Tamara was a fake put around by anti-protesters.
What is he talking about here? I have no idea what he's talking about.
Apparently,
from Tamara, what's that?
Well, apparently everything that Tamara and the mayor agreed upon is fake.
Oh, okay. So you have inside information on this? Give me your source, please. Go ahead.
Google, probably.
Oh, God.
Just a guess. Google said
we're in trouble. You know what, folks? We're in trouble. I still have some hope, but God, when people are getting their inside information from Google, scares the bejabbers out of me. Go ahead, John.
I could talk for hours on that, but I won't. Mike says, tourist attraction. Yeah, right. They all want to come and see dirty old truckers in hot tubs. There you go. Barbara says, I believe this protest has been an awakening for all and the lack of leadership and the biased MS media in this country as a whole. None of the MPs live in Centertown, says Andre. That is why they don't care. Joshua says the only reason the convoy started was because the government had no plan forward, and now they can't end the protest because they have no plan for the last 2 years. The best plan from our leaders has been no plan at all.
Yeah, there's some truth to that.
Patricia is on Facebook. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. She says no one can afford to run for public office. It's way too expensive. There you go. Anne says, ask 10 people and you get 10 different reasons for protesting. Kevin says Watson must resign, lying about having a deal with the protesters. So there you go. That's obviously
wait a minute, hold on,
out there somewhere.
What information do you have that he was lying? I mean, these outrageous charges. This has got to stop, folks. Come on, go ahead, John.
Steve says, saw Rosie Barton this morning on CBC. Anytime the topic dealt with Justin's responsibilities in causing this, she, of course, was there to defend him.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Shocking.
The nowhere man. I have to get a word in
All
here
right.
about somebody that is somewhere. And Shields, of course, is somewhere. Well, that somewhere is the giant metropolis of Pakenham, home of, among other things, the five-span feed store and the five-span bridge. You try to say it. And, of course, Shields. Shields been there since 1947. Now, I still hear people say, well, it's Pakenham and it's a little store. The store itself is not big, although they've got a very good display there of appliances, no question. But the warehouse is huge. And I've said this before, they have virtually any appliance that you could possibly want. All of the major brands, some of the minor brands, different colors, different shapes, different wattages, different price range. It's all there for delivery almost immediately. You won't have to wait. And the prices, well, folks, check it out yourself. Shields.ca. Very, very competitive, believe it. Shields, hey, these people know what they're doing. They've been at it a long time. They're very successful. They know how to price. They know that price sells. You check it out yourself. Don't take my word. Check it out yourself. Shields.ca. John, back more comments.
Yep. Kevin says, I'm the only one who saw Watson on TV saying he had a deal. I guess he's questioning the people who are saying there was no deal. Janet says, across the country, people are uniting for freedom and our God-given rights to be free. Here's a text, Lowell, at 613-413-2217.
Let me just stop here.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom, but freedom from what? Can somebody be more specific? Exactly what freedom are you looking for? Go ahead, John.
Yep. The text again, 613-413-2217. Thanks, Lowell. These are not terrorists. These are just citizens trying to be heard by a deaf government. These people that call them this would be the first ones to do the same for their cause. Keenan says, Pat King, one of the organizers of the protests, posted a video on Facebook Sunday night telling truckers not to move their vehicles from downtown, including residential areas, or leave Ottawa. Hold the line, he said repeatedly in the video titled Nobody Move. King said the letter to Mayor Jim Watson from Tamara Lynch, the president of a group called Freedom Convoy 2022, was a lie and a false flag.
Well, that's one guy's, one guy's take of it. We'll see. Are the trucks actually moving out of the residential areas? I don't know.
Some are saying that they're seeing trucks moving out of the residential areas.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
I can only go by what they're telling me. Let's take care of some emails here. Lowell at blasttheradio.com is the address. Gilles writes in to say, I'm a 69-year-old white male. 2 strikes against me, I know. I'm downhearted that my grandkids will never know my Canada. And an email from Lisa. She says, Lowell, if freedom was so important to these protesters, has anyone asked them why they didn't join the military? They're always recruiting. I can't wait to see the litany of fines that will be handed out to the protesters and the organizers. Let me see. Pat King is not one of the organizers, says Kathy. Okay, now they're having conversations amongst each other. I will avoid that on the show. Here's a text. I have such a mix of emotions, and despair is at the top of that list. I worry for my adult children and eventually grandchildren. We need to get back to normal life, and this episode has shone a very bright light on the discontent of the nation. I don't agree with the dark side of this protest, but I'm thankful that the issues have been thrust in the faces of our leadership.
Now, that is a very, very apt comment. I appreciate that very much. I think you've summarized the feelings of a lot of people. Some common sense. You don't like the dark side, nor does anybody. But very clearly, and I've said this from the start, you may disagree, but when so many people are so determined and so involved, and you think of all of the support that the convoy got along the way, there's something behind this. This many people simply would not show up to support and protest if there wasn't something legitimate behind this. And this is, in my view, this is one of the great failings of our leadership. Nobody sat down with these people to find out exactly what it is they want. The prime minister called them terrorists and all the denigrating phrases that he used. But no attempt has ever been made by anybody in leadership to find out, okay, what is it that you want? When you say freedom, What do you want? What is it? What's bothering you? And get the supporters their chance. What is it that's bothering you? Nobody in leadership has done that. I would think that, there's a famous story about Winston Churchill. He's just been appointed prime minister of Britain during the Second World War. Okay, and many of his people in his own party and many others are telling him, let's sign a peace pact with Germany. Let Germany come in here. They promise that they'll take it really easy on us. And so you know what? Churchill goes out and he gets in a subway car. And there's actually a documentary that shows him doing this. Gets in a subway car and he asks everybody in the subway car, ordinary people, what do you want? Do you want to surrender? Do you want to fight? And everybody in the car said, never surrender, which is he went in that afternoon and with his famous speech, we will never surrender. We'll fight them on the beaches. But he went to the people to find out, what are the people saying? Has there been any politician at any level, including, by the way, Doug Ford, who has sat down with some of these people and say, what is it? It seems to me that if they had at least done that, we would have a better idea. I wouldn't be sitting here asking people, what is it that they want? What freedom are they lacking? Go ahead, John.
Kills me that Trudeau cannot have a conversation with truckers, but Biden can pick up the phone and have a conversation with Putin, and look how close they are to potentially World War III. Makes no sense to me. Richard says, my freedom is freedom of speech. That's why Bill C-11, the watered-down version of Bill C-10, cannot be passed. Digital Charter Implementation Act. Murray says, we want our children to grow up in a free world. Those are a couple of responses to what freedoms exactly. Lowell, I appreciate your wisdom, says Kelvin. Freedom to choose, says Sherry Lee. 18 days. I live in Centertown, says Christine. We all heard you. The whole world heard you. We voted too. You aren't on the Hill. You are in our neighborhood. Go to the lawn at Parliament Hill or go home. The PPC received 7% of the vote and lost. We read their platform and the majority said no thanks. Democracy, she says. Mariad says, isn't that also a failing of the convoy that their message is not at all clear?
Well, because I bet see this, I think that there are any number of reasons that people are there, but nobody has. I mean, we're speculating now. Nobody in authority has ever, as I repeat, has ever sat down to find out what it is. Well, all of those people who were on the overpasses waving Canadian flag, what were they waving? What were they supporting? There's something going on here, and nobody in authority has bothered to try and, well, they won't even talk with them. Go ahead, John.
Lynn says, just retired. My freedom would be to travel with my family who are vaccinated and not vaccinated to see our beautiful Canada. Lisa says, isn't that also a failing? No, sorry, we read that a few minutes ago. Where did Lisa's comment go? Sorry, the screen just jumped on me. Lisa, I want to get this in. I think Justin wanted an excuse to invoke the War Measures Act like his poppy did decades ago.
No, it's not the War Measures Act.
Hasn't been since 88. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And they're very different too, aren't they? The War Measures Act
Yes.
and the Emergencies Act. Yeah. Like we're not talking about tanks in the street with this.
Hopefully not. No.
Okay, but that is that
prime minister. You never know.
That is part of what he is capable of. Then,
let me just comment. Doug Ford is, lots of people are mad at what he did, but the fact of the matter is, he got the order passed, and he did something immediately. But there was no violence. In some cases, I think there was about 25 arrests. People refused to get out of their trucks and so forth. The cops went in, picked them up, and carried them. But I mean, there was no bloodshed. There was no tear gas used and so forth. So all this talk by Trudeau and others about, oh, we fear violence and so forth. Well, they cleared the bridge and there was no violence. Go ahead, John.
There's been a bit of violence in Alberta, I understand. They did have somebody amongst the protesters there who had a vehicle loaded with weapons, who I guess did drive towards RCMP, who were able to dodge it, and they're now looking for the guy. But that's the fear with these, right? Is that one odd person. Kim says, you're right on the money with the fact that there wouldn't be support if there wasn't a just cause. Freedom is definitely a personal definition. If only everyone could just respect everyone's opinion. You don't have to agree, just respect. Just has lacked a maturity through this. Let me see. Couldn't agree with you more. Lowell says, Cheryl, Kevin, I don't have your comments. Sorry. I love the support of our troops rally. Good to see you there, Lowell. Sharon says the mayor did not speak to the protesters. That never happened. Okay. Let me see.
Wait a minute, hold it. You know what? If you're going to make a charge like that, I think you should be compelled to give us your source. That's a very serious charge, to charge the mayor of a city with lying on a very major issue like this. That's a serious charge. And so I challenge the writer of that to provide me some proof, okay? Otherwise, you know what you're doing? You are spreading mistrust. You are harming your city. You're harming your country in doing this. We have enough mistrust and false information. We don't need more of it. Go ahead, John.
It's been requested that you go downtown and broadcast live from the protests, Lowell. I don't know how you feel about that. Enough said.
I'm not well enough. No, go ahead.
Well, then there you go. Thankful we live in this country and not in the Ukraine right now, says Christy. That's a great point. Kelvin says, reading some of these comments is a sure sign we are drowning in education and starving in wisdom. Todd says, freedom to choose, mask or no mask, shot or not, I respect everyone's choice. And Keenan says, welcome to the nonstop hate convoy propaganda. Lowell, you've been distracted by the bouncy castles.
Oh, kiss me arse. And on that note, that I'm so sick and tired. Don't attack me. Don't attack the messenger. Attack the idea. Comment on the idea. But every time somebody comes up with an idea that you don't agree with, you attack the person. I've sold out or whatever. You know what? That is I never sold out to anybody, nor will I. I'm too bloody old to sell out. Thank you all, folks. You know what? Some very good comments today. Very good comments. So we'll be back again tomorrow. God willing, the creek don't rise.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.